I just want to talk about something that makes me happy in life today. We're going to talk about Jeffrey Lurie. We're going to talk about the hiring process, the firing process, if it goes down. If the meeting's really today between Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie, we're going to talk about all that. But I want to talk about something that makes me happy. Just real quick, stay with me because I know you guys aren't here for Flyers conversation, unfortunately, and I love the Flyers. I really do. I was a Flyers fan before I was an Eagles fan. It's a true story. But I just have to acknowledge for a second that the Flyers are red hot. And Owen Tippett last night had one of the most incredible goals I have ever seen. So I want to talk about that for just a second, if you'll indulge me. And then we're going to get to why this is the thumbnail of today's show. Can we just give me some credit here? Yes, it's Microsoft Paint. But who cares? All right? This is... We'll get to why I find that so funny. For the people on the podcast, it was an incredible, atrocious job of using Microsoft Paint quickly instead of Photoshop. Jeffrey Lurie, sad face on a beach in St. Martin. So there you go. For the people on the podcast. So that's what we got today. It appears as if that meeting is finally going to go down today. It seems like Jeffrey Lurie is going to come back from an island getaway. It seems like he is going to sit down with Nick Sirianni, and they are going to make a decision about the Eagles' future and who will be the head coach of this football team. As we pointed out yesterday with Diana Rossini putting out the story that Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman were going out and making phone calls to see who might be interested in a coordinator position with the Eagles, who might be interested in a coaching position with the Eagles. Nick Sirianni is certainly not doing that unless he is either putting a plan together to save his job or he doesn't have to save anything and he's just seeing who's interested. Because either way, they need a defensive coordinator. I think they still need an offensive coordinator. They need some kind of other voice because this year was not great with Brian Johnson. I know everybody jumps to, they were 7th in the NFL in offense. That's great, but they had an MVP caliber quarterback a year ago who regressed, and they also had 2 stud receivers in Devontae Smith as well as A.J. Brown. They had the best offensive line in football, and they were only 7th. It's not really a brag when you have those kind of offensive weapons, and then there were 6 teams better than you. Not great. So we're going to talk a lot today about what's going to happen between Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie in today's meeting. And I got to say, I didn't want to believe what was going down between Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie and what Jeffrey Lurie was doing right after the Eagles got bounced out of the playoffs. I didn't want to believe the story, but we'll talk about the story. We'll also talk about a defensive coordinator that potentially could have been the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles this year and decided not to because he was fired by Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. I find it hard to say that Nick Sirianni fired somebody because I don't know if he has that complete autonomy. I think it all comes from up top. So anyway, that's what we got. We're going to have some funsies today and 26 more days till Phillies pitchers and catchers report to Clearwater, Florida. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start it with Owen Tippett's goal last night. I can't play it for you, unfortunately, because that would get us into some trouble with the NHL, but I can describe it for you. He gets an outlet pass. He's being smothered by a defender. He does a spinorama from around the top of the circle at this point, spins around, backhands the puck over the glove hand far side of the netminder for a goal. That doesn't even do it justice. So instead of that, I'm just going to let you hear John Tortorella describe this Owen Tippett goal last night.
He's just he has a chance to be something special, and I think he just feels good about his game, hitting the net more with his shot. And I haven't seen a goal like that. I've seen a lot of good goals. I haven't seen one of those in quite a while.
It was John Tortorella himself was very impressed with it. But the Flyers win their 5th straight. Tippett, it was one of 2 goals he had last night. And Morgan Frost had another goal or had an assist last night between his legs. The Flyers, ladies and gentlemen, not only have they won 5 straight as a team, 2 of their goals last night were in the top 10 in SportsCenter. It was mostly thanks to Morgan Frost's feed. That was the 6th best play in SportsCenter. And then Owen Tippett's goal was the number 1 play in all of sports yesterday. So that's how good the Flyers were yesterday. So I just thought we had to take a moment and acknowledge how great the Flyers are and something that makes me happy. Now something that makes me sad. something that makes me angry. I first saw Marcus Hayes put this tweet out there about Jeffrey Lurie and that he was spotted on the island of St. Martin shopping for a luxury boat. Now, I know Marcus. Marcus can be funny. Marcus can be sarcastic. And I go, that's funny. Ha, 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 ha. Ha, 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 ha. And then he goes on to say he ain't firing Nick Sirianni from the Caribbean. I'm like, no, this can't be real. I'm not going to fall for it. No way, no siree. And then yesterday, Ed Kratz of Sports Illustrated puts it out. A source told me that Eagles Jeffrey Lurie is in St. Martin and did not meet with Nick Sirianni on Wednesday. Huh? And then sure enough, a little bit later, there's this. This is from Ed Kratz's story. Look at this. Seriously? He's clearing his head in St. Martin, an island getaway, right after the Eagles got destroyed in the playoffs, right after the Eagles got destroyed to end their season, got insanely humbled, and he's like, it's time to get away. You know what? I don't blame him, but there's business to be handled. The idea of stepping away for a second. So just to read this for the people on the podcast again. Philadelphia Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie is on an island getaway, clearing his head and deciding head coach Nick Sirianni's fate, or he has already decided Sirianni will return. There's a question mark there. A couple of schools of thought. Number one is that's exactly what he's doing. I just know I need to get away. I need to think about whether I need to fire another head coach and bring in somebody else. I've been to the playoffs 3 times with this guy. Meanwhile, this is the state that I see. I just have to use the thumbnail again. So I just see Jeffrey Lurie sitting under a palm tree. All right. He's done his yacht shopping for the day. And he's just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do with this head coach? Do I bring back a guy that was making the playoffs for me consistently and then had one of the most epic collapses in all of football history? Or do I move on from him and bring in somebody else that actually knows what the hell they're doing? Or someone, is there anyone else I can control? You know, that's kind of what I envision going down here. Or the other school of thought is he's not firing anybody and he just wants to relax. There are counter arguments to both those ideas, but both those ideas are very possible. Those are really, I think, the only two viable options to have when your owner goes away after a disastrous end to a season. I do agree with Marcus. He's not firing Nick Sirianni from the Caribbean. So he could just be clearing his head, and hopefully he hasn't made that decision quite yet. But today is the day, according to Jeff McClain of Inquirer.com, saying that this tweet, of course, came out tomorrow or yesterday. And he's saying that Jeffrey Lurie is scheduled to meet with Nick Sirianni Friday. That's today for the head coach's end of the season exit interview, per an NFL source. I think that meeting is going to go very similarly to Doug Peterson's meeting. Nick Sirianni is going to present a list of candidates to be alongside him as coordinators and coaches throughout the rest of the staff in order to help him win football games. And Jeffrey Lurie is either going to say, yeah, when I was in St. Martin, I had a different idea. I had the idea that we would go with this guy, that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm watching Fargo. There's a little North Dakota accent in there. I apologize. Minnesota accent in there too. Sorry. But when it comes to Jeffrey Lurie, I think that's the way this is going to go down today. I don't think Jeffrey Lurie is going into this meeting, for those that really want to know, saying he's fired. I think he's going into this meeting saying, let's see what he has to say. And if what he has to say is good, if Nick Sirianni has a good sales pitch, then Jeffrey Lurie is going to be way more on the side of keeping him, and he will retain his head coach. If what Nick Sirianni is selling today is something that Jeffrey Lurie isn't buying, I think we could very well see Nick Sirianni be eliminated, be terminated as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. One of the things that we got into yesterday still applies, and that's the Diana Rossini tweets, reports about whether or not Nick Sirianni was going to be fired, whether or not he was going to stay. And with him making phone calls with Howie Roseman, it would make it seem like he's making those decisions, and he is still very much here. If he was being fired, then you wouldn't need an island getaway. You would need to just come back and you fire him. Diana Rossini, an hour after she put out the report, stating that Nick Sirianni was making those phone calls to find coaches for his staff next year, said, by the way, I know a lot of people are reading this as Nick Sirianni is back. That is still not the case. He still needs to have that end of the season interview with Jeffrey Lurie, where he's basically re-interviewing for the job he currently has. I still think Nick Sirianni's job is on the rocks. And we played the glowing endorsements of Jalen Hurts and Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox. We played all of it for you yesterday. Played all of it. It doesn't matter to me what they say nearly as much as the way they played. The level in which they played, and the fact that they had motivating factors at the end of the season to win games and laid duds. Absolute duds. You can't have that. And in both games, you had reports before the game about Nick Sirianni saying that this team, he really fired up his team. Really told his team going into the Giants game in Week 18. He really told his team, "Oh, you guys got to get up for this. You guys got to play hard. You guys got to win this game. There's a lot to play for here. We can still win the division." Blah blah blah. And they played like that against the Giants in the playoffs. They go down to Tampa, and they lay that egg against the Buccaneers. It's not just getting pantsed on the field as players, where the players just played poorly. They weren't ready to play that game. You mean to tell me that team was ready to play? You mean to tell me the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, they got that team ready to play football? You mean to tell me the organization got their players ready to play football? Nah, man. Not even close. And that's why ultimately you have to clean house with the coaching staff and you need to move on. The only guy for me that stays, and Michael Clay, we talked about it, he can stay. They did a hell of a job with special teams this year. And Jeff Stoutland. Those are the only two guys that you pardon and you bring everybody else in. That's what I would do. But the things are trending in the direction that that's not going to happen because my contention after looking at everything and seeing the reports, Jeffrey Lurie getting away, is if he knew what he was doing, if Jeffrey Lurie really knew what he was doing. And I think in a lot of aspects, especially when it comes to deciding the fate of a head coach, I think in a lot of aspects, Jeffrey Lurie looks at it from a good perspective. He doesn't want to make a rash decision because this guy's been to the playoffs 3 times in the 3 years he's been your head coach. You don't necessarily want to make a coaching change in 1 year of regression with your young franchise quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So there is a lot to think about. I will say that. And sometimes getting away, and I know it doesn't look great when it's an island getaway and we're about to get 4 inches of snow in Philadelphia. That's not a great thing. Maybe more. It's not a good look. Certainly not a good look. But if he needed to step away, I can't fault him that much for it. But if you're stepping away, that means you have something to think about. And I don't think you come back after the downfall the Eagles had and your solution is, let's run it back. Let's run it back. Because let's not forget, the scariest thing that I played for you yesterday came from the mouth of Jalen Hurts. And just in case you didn't catch it, here it is again.
You mentioned the confidence you have in Nick just a second ago. I guess, do you want him back as head coach?
I said owners own, coaches coach, and players play. I answered that question the other day, and I don't know if you asked me something the other day about, and I said, what did I say?
It's like you didn't know.
Yeah. Like you didn't know.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a thing. So I don't see why that wouldn't be the case. We plan on fixing everything that we've done and growing together. Coach Sirianni, Brian, everyone.
Coach Sirianni, Brian, everyone. What if I told you, let's go into 30 for 30 mode. What if I told you that the Eagles were 10-1 for the second consecutive year, and they were coming off a Super Bowl appearance, and the biggest question mark you had going into the season was whether or not your offensive coordinator change from Shane Steichen to Brian Johnson would go off without a hitch? At 10-1, it certainly seemed like it would. And then one of the biggest collapses in all of NFL history happened. I think you're going to be making some changes at the end of the season. But then The offensive coordinator happens to have known Jalen Hurts since he was 4 years old, which I know is an adorable, cute little story. It looks like it's going to have a horrible ending. However, it seems like Jalen Hurts is going to save that man's job, or at least try to save that man's job. Because while everyone was talking about how great Nick Sirianni was in the locker room, and everyone was writing about or talking about and printing and all that stuff about, hey, Nick Sirianni is great, and everyone in this locker room loves him, I didn't hear anybody talking about Brian Johnson being so great. I even checked the Inquirer, and I think it was E.J. Smith, the Inquirer, and I don't fault writers for the headline or anything, but it said like Jalen Hurts wants to bring Nick Sirianni back, and it was just like, yeah, but the rest of that is he also wants Brian Johnson back. So after this offense lacked creativity and this offense hit a giant wall at the end of the season, you mean to tell me that this is going to start all over again? That you just want to? No, we're good. This is how we're going to do it again. Same philosophy. Same philosophy. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. You can't look at what you saw this year. You can't look at what you saw in the playoffs. 9 points in the playoffs. Your offense was shut out against the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas this year. Your offense couldn't come up in the clutch against the Seattle Seahawks. Your offense, for the first half, got spanked by the Giants. Your offense couldn't pick up a blitz. Your offense couldn't install anything to help Jalen Hurts. No checkdowns, no screens, no running backs out of the backfield. Nothing, nothing. You couldn't help him out even. No hot routes, nothing. You couldn't help the guy out. Deep balls, man. Deep balls down the field when 8 guys are in the box. Hey, look, I understand that, but when like 7 of those 8 guys are rushing the quarterback, probably not a good idea to have your quarterback haul back and throw. Probably not. Not a great idea. But if he's sitting on the beach in St. Martin and he's going, it wasn't that bad. I don't know how you come away with it, and that's your idea. That is awful. Absolutely awful. It really is, at this point, a coin flip, I think, from what Jeffrey Lurie is going to decide to do. But if it's not just Nick Sirianni, like I could, in a way, and this isn't me trying to justify it to myself, I've said this all along, in a way, I could understand Jeffrey Lurie saying this guy's been in the playoffs 3 straight years that I've had him. He's had one, historical collapse, but I think he's a better coach than what we saw. All right. If he comes back with the head coach and the coordinators, then what the hell, man? What are we even doing here? You lacked any ability to stop the bleeding as the season wound down. Why am I supposed to believe that, through the offseason and in the next season, with potentially and most likely your center moving on and moving into retirement, and God bless him for it, for Jason Kelce and all that stuff. Rabbi McDonald's with signed jerseys, even more good for him. I saw that picture. It was awesome. But all of that, you're going to be moving on without a lot of the veteran leadership that you had, and you're going to be even more reliant on your head coach to be that leader that he's supposed to be. And one of the things I really loved about Nick Sirianni over the last 2 years, especially over the back-to-back 10-1 starts, he always seemed like his team was prepared to play. That's one of the things I always would, that's the highest note I would sing for Nick Sirianni praise, that he always seemed like he had his team ready to play. And that's what made the last 7 games of the season so unbearable. Like, I was picking him to win. I was picking him to win and picking him to win. And then all of a sudden, no. I watched them play against the Giants. I watched how they didn't get up for that game. And then I saw them go up, or then I was waiting for them to go up against the Bucs. And when it came time for me to make my prediction, it was like, nope, I'm not going to get fooled again. No, sir. And sure enough, they got blown out of the water. That Tampa Bay Buccaneers the pirate ship in the end zone, that was going off a couple of times, sinking the Eagles. Absolutely sinking the Eagles season, potentially still Nick Sirianni's career. But if you're Jeffrey Lurie, you're going back, you're reviewing all that stuff, you're thinking about that while you're sipping a coconut water from a straw, a pina colada out of a coconut. I don't know if that's even what they do. I don't know. But not much of an island guy. But yeah, that's where we're at right now with Jeffrey Lurie as he comes back to meet Nick Sirianni and decide the fate. If it's me, I'm cleaning house. It's time to move on. When a coach does something extremely well, like get his team prepared, and then all of a sudden they look completely lost over the last month plus of the season. Nick Sirianni himself said you have to flush. You have to flush the loss against the Giants. And then he paused and he said, actually, you got to flush the whole last month of the season. And my thought was, that is one backed up toilet. You can only flush so many times all that junk and expect to come out of the other side totally clean. That doesn't make any sense. But that's what he said. And that was piling up and piling up and piling up. And if you're Jeffrey Lurie, you kind of have to notice that it's piling up and piling up and piling up. And the look on his face, the last we saw Jeffrey Lurie, I'll show it one more time for the people in the back. The last time we saw Jeffrey Lurie, that was his face. Did that look like a guy that was just like, oh, I have a lot to think about? No, that looked like a guy who made a decision. So if he really did come up with that decision, and why is he going away? Like, there's so many conflicting ideas in all this. My bet today, I'll make this official. My bet today, if I'm not going to tell you what I'm rooting for. This is my prediction, as if it was an Eagles game about to happen. Fridays are the prediction shows usually. So on this snowy Friday, my prediction is that Nick Sirianni comes back. And the number one reason why, after really weighing all the details of this, is that Howie Roseman was part of the call. I don't think Nick Sirianni is working with Howie Roseman about the Eagles' future if Nick Sirianni is not part of the Eagles' future. The idea that Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman are both working on making calls around the league, checking availability. Howie Roseman's not doing that if Nick Sirianni is getting fired. He's distancing himself from that. He's like, yeah, man, you do. Go ahead. Go, you do that. All right. Good luck to you. If Howie Roseman's part of it, I think Howie Roseman likes the setup too. We talk about Jeffrey Lurie liking the setup of having a head coach that allows Jeffrey Lurie to meddle and be involved in more than an owner is typically involved in. What the term meddling owner is applied to, it's applied to what Jeffrey Lurie is doing right now. But he's not the only one that's happy with his power. And it's funny to talk about that with an owner because, like, you're the owner. You have a lot of power, but he needs more. He needs to be part of why they're winning, not just signing checks. Howie Roseman has the same kind of skin in the game here, where he gets to do a little bit more than typically a general manager or director of player personnel would do, which is be involved in game day decisions, go over the game day roster, inactives, all that stuff. Hands on, man. If you bring in another head coach, that power will go away. That control will go away. So Howie Roseman has the same skin in the game that Jeffrey Lurie has. Both like their role. They like their status right now as it is with the Philadelphia Eagles with Nick Sirianni as the head coach. Now, the epic change that you have for the coaching staff, for the fan base really, is changing your coordinators. That's the only thing that would really give us hope. If you run it back, I loved the comments. When I put out the quote from Jalen Hurts yesterday, I loved the comments on the show, especially on you guys in the comments on YouTube are fantastic as always. And then I was reading the Twitter comments as well. And some of the comments were perfect. Like, hey, if Jeffrey Lurie comes back, if he runs it back with Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni, I'm out. Not even watching next season. Okay. I love that. I don't believe you, but I love the passion there. Okay. But that is the ultimate wrong message to send to your fan base. And I think Jeffrey Lurie is emotionally intelligent enough to be in tune with the Philadelphia Eagles fan base where they realize you got to have a change here. Or 7th ranked offense. Okay. Did you feel like that towards the end of the season? Somebody pointed out to me, and they went back to this. This was on Twitter as well. The Eagles were the worst 10-1 team ever. Here was my argument at 10-1 for why I was still optimistic about the Eagles. There was still 6 games left in the season, and you just beat the Buffalo Bills in a rough game, but yes, a game that you, again, found a way to win. I was waiting for the San Francisco game, the Dallas road game, for you to really establish yourself, Philadelphia Eagles, as an upper echelon team. Because you beat the Dolphins, and when you beat the Dolphins, everybody went, oh, wow, look at it. Just 35-17? Good Lord. They destroyed the Miami Dolphins with Eli Ricks on Tyreek Hill. What? That's amazing. And then every game after that was an absolute dogfight. teams hanging with them that shouldn't be hanging with them. Eagles making mistakes to allow those teams hang with them. And then in the first half, nothing. Second half, they turn on fire. The statistics were out there about Jalen Hurts. Oh, double-digit leads. He comes back from all of them. And then they just got annihilated, as we know, down the stretch. Bill Colarulo, Legal Hands to the Face podcast here on Jacob Media, as well as Philly Sports Power Hour, I thought put it perfectly. Like, towards the end of the season, the Eagles were showing us who they wanted to show us, what they wanted to show us all year, which was, we're not that good. And then all of a sudden, they finally showed you. I mean, I went through it many times on the show. The Eagles were drastically close, dangerously close to being a 7-10 football team this season. Maybe even a 6-11 football team this season. And when you talk about it, you talk about like Reed Blankenship's arm being under Terry McLaurin, a bunch of plays that you can look at that I thought were fair to look at. Not just, if this happens, then that. Like things that were very oddly specific, strange. Not just, that happens in football. But like, Gabe Davis, who was in the middle of a great stretch for the Buffalo Bills, breaking the wrong way on a route that would have been a walk-off touchdown in overtime against the Eagles. Yeah, no. But the Eagles found a way to win because they engineered that, 11-play drive with Jalen Hurts capping it off with a 12-yard run for the touchdown, for the walk-off touchdown. It's dangerous, man. It's dangerous. Dangerously close to a 7-win team this year. So all those little things, they added up to all of a sudden, magically, being 11-6, not 6-11. All those things added up to be that. Now, you watch the Eagles this year. You watch the way the Eagles ended the season. Did that look like an 11-6 team, or did that look a lot closer to a 6-11 team? Because it looked a lot closer to me to a 6-11 team, 7-10 team. And when I went through the games and all the odd bounces that went the Eagles' way, and I went down and I saw that record, I was like, oh, wow, that's what it adds up to? That seems more like the team that we watched end the season. And let's not forget they lost to a 9-8 team in the playoffs, albeit on the road, but they're not playing on the road, man. And that's the other thing. The more I think about it, you're talking about a team that had everything to play for still at the end of the season. Everything to play for. First round bye, number 1 seed, at least host a home game, win the division, and everything just one by one started to get chipped away as their armor got more and more. Was it chinks in the armor and all that stuff? Bang, 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 every single time, just knocking down a peg with every single loss. When you have more and more to play for, and those games are supposed to get easier and easier, and you're playing worse and worse. I mean, it's a miracle they won the Giants game at home. Tyrod Taylor plays that whole game, you're probably not winning that football game. One other thing that Jeffrey Lurie could be thinking about. Now, again, my official prediction is that Nick Sirianni comes back. If he is back, then I think you're cleaning house with your coordinators. That's what I think happens. So my official prediction is that Nick Sirianni is not fired. And one of the other reasons that his job could be saved is that Jeffrey Lurie is going to take some responsibility for making the defensive coordinator change. Him and Howie Roseman potentially taking some responsibility for making that change and putting that on Nick Sirianni. And I know Nick Sirianni has said many times that was his call, that was his decision. Who knows, maybe we'll hear from Nick Sirianni today, and Nick Sirianni will walk us through it again. But I think one of the things that's probably rattling around in Jeffrey Lurie's mind is, I wanted to make that change. Howie and I wanted to make that change. That's on us because it was an utter failure. I can't put that on Nick Sirianni. I put my coach in a bad position. I did not put my coach in the best possible position to have my team win. I made things a hell of a lot more difficult. You know what I did? I looked at those last 4 games of the season as if they were a preseason leading up to the playoffs. We could still beat the Giants twice. We could beat the Cardinals. We could beat the Seahawks. Make the change. We'll be fine. Maybe what they didn't count on was Darius Slay also going down with his getting his knee scoped. And they, we can make this change. It's no big deal. You're just changing a defensive coordinator. What's the problem? Well, that's where a football mind that Jeffrey Lurie does not have and Howie Roseman does not have, that's where a football mind goes, that's going to be difficult trying to hear play calls from somebody else. That's going to be difficult. Darius Slay described it as it's like having two wives, man. Like that's difficult. It's pretty hard. That's bad for the communication in the marriage, among other things. I thought it was a great analogy. And they're right. And that's a football mind. That's a player's mind. Did they consult any players on this? That's a feather in the cap for the argument of bringing Nick Sirianni back. The idea that the front office ownership would say, we kind of didn't put my coach in the best possible position to have their players make good plays. And that's another haunting thing about it, unfortunately. So we'll go into this offseason with the horrendous idea that we're screwed. That's what it comes down to. And then by the time preseason and training camp rolls around, we'll be like, Nick was at the playoffs 3 years in a row, and it was a historic collapse, and the ownership group really messed with them. And I'll put it to you like this. When does that really matter? Like we talk about like fault and the blame game all the time when it comes to firing a head coach or it comes to firing a manager. Like the classic, the classic thing with Joe Girardi, just as recent as that was, it's Joe Girardi taking at bats. Is Joe Girardi pitching? No, but when has that ever mattered? Is Brian Johnson out there throwing the ball deep at 8:15 left in the Seattle game for an interception when the Eagles are up 4 points? No, he's not doing that. But when has that ever mattered? The idea behind firing a head coach or firing a manager or firing anyone who's leading in sports is to create that new atmosphere. And Nick Sirianni, for the most part, in his time here, has created a wonderful atmosphere of winning. Second year, he gets to the Super Bowl. Never been a head coach before. He gets to the Super Bowl. All right, great. After that, another 10-1 start, and then the demise. But if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you're Jeffrey Lurie, you understand that you have to take some responsibility here too. And as much as you want to look at Nick Sirianni and this coaching staff as a fan and say they did a terrible job, and at the end of the season, they absolutely did, and through the entire season was a struggle. And it's weird to say that about a 10-1 football team, but they struggled against the Patriots, struggled against the Vikings, struggled at first against the Buccaneers, and then put them away, struggled against the Commanders. I mean, it was just everything was a struggle this year. 2 games, as I pointed out many times, double-digit wins, horrible point differential, horrible takeaway ratio, turnover ratio. Everything was a struggle. Was that the way it was supposed to be with this offense? Like, think about this. This offense, with Dallas Goedert, I know he was hurt, but even with Dallas Goedert as a tight end for most of the season, this offensive line, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the acquisition of DeAndre Swift, and every game was a struggle. And that's not just on the defense being terrible. And don't get me wrong, Sean Desai wasn't winning defensive coordinator of the year or whatever. He wasn't winning assistant coach of the year. That wasn't happening. But at least there were second half adjustments that he made that helped this team out. The game I always go to for that is the game against the Rams, where Cooper Kupp lights you on fire in the first half, and then you barely see him in the second half. It was like 97 yards receiving in the first half, and then 2 catches for 15 yards? Maybe 25 yards in the second? The adjustments, man. He at least made adjustments. Didn't see any of that in the second half of Matt Patricia's football games. If anything, I saw more of a demise. And the thing I'll also go back to is the 4 straight touchdowns against the Cardinals. That shouldn't happen. How the hell does that happen? So confident, Jonathan Gannon, that he went to that onside kick. Your defense ain't stopping my guys. Seriously? Yet, here we are. So maybe today. Now, as I mentioned, Jeff McClain put out that the meeting is today. This tweet came out yesterday. The meeting is today. So Jeff McClain is saying meeting's going down today. Okay, great. Meeting's going down today. I hope that there's at some point an announcement that the Eagles are going to have a press conference where Jeffrey Lurie will address the media. If at some point there's a press conference that Nick Sirianni is addressing the media, well, that'll pretty much let you know that the guy's job is saved. So there we are. Meanwhile, Brian Johnson, there's a little bit of news from yesterday. Brian Johnson got another head coaching interview. I believe it's his 3rd head coaching interview, this one with the Falcons. The Falcons are really they have they have painted with a wide brush. They've cast a wide net. Bill Belichick, Jim Harbaugh, and Brian Johnson. Okay, fellas, wait a minute. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. You want to go to a game? Want to go to an event? Want to go to a concert? Want to go to a comedy show? Check out the great people at Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone and take advantage of all they have to offer. You can even view the seat before you buy it. And how about this? You register now, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and when you buy your first set of tickets from the Game Time app, you get $20 off when you use promo code Farzy, F-A-R-Z-Y. Last-minute ticket deals are fantastic. Flash ticket deals are amazing. And how about this? They even sell tickets an hour after the event starts. So, yeah, sure, maybe you miss an opener. Maybe you miss the opening act, the opening bands, whatever you might miss. But you get there in time for the concert that you want to see, the comedian you want to see. And you can do that at the Game Time app. Once again, use promo code Farzy for $20 off your first purchase at the Game Time app. Have a good time with the Game Time app. How about MyBookie? MyBookie.ag. You want to get in on all the action the sports world has to offer? Well, take advantage of what they're doing right now with MyBookie and promo code Farzy at MyBookie.ag. Download the app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. And how about this? This is unbelievable. Up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie.ag. And if sports ain't your thing, you can also bet on the world of television, bet on your favorite TV shows, bet on your stories, as my grandmother used to say. And how about that? You can also bet on the world of politics. You know how to party if you bet on politics. MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. Use promo code Farzy for all they have to offer. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see what's going on with you beautiful people. Wow, you guys are popping off this morning. Jason, hello. Good morning. April, hello. I'm just going to call you Boot Plug. Okay? People can out. Good morning to you too. Boot Plug. Not putting your name up on the board. April, hello. Not Farzy, we love the Flyers too. And not Farzy, we love the Flyers too. And Owen Tippett been my favorite player so far. Kid is hard worker. He is a hard worker. I like that Owen Tippett. 18 goals now in the season. I'm not too shabby. T-Bro, thank you so much. I'm very proud of my Microsoft Pates thumbnail. Much appreciated. Where's his boat? I didn't have time. I was really rushing to get that done and trying to do a show before 6:30 today. I apologize. Thumbnail had me cracking up. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Is it Fire Nick Friday? I don't think it's Fire Nick Friday. Play-by-play with JJ. Is JJ Jim Jackson? Jim Jackson, the incredible play-by-play voice of your Philadelphia Flyers, sent me a text the other day, and he just said, "Congratulations on the contract extension." And he has always said I look like Nick Foligno. Let's see if I can find it. And when people tell you look like somebody and you see it, that means you kind of look like somebody. And he has always told me I look like Nick Foligno. So let me see if I get this. JJ. There it is. Yeah, with the Blackhawks. Yeah, I mean, his beard's a little lighter than mine. I might have a little bit more of a. I don't think I'm olive skin by any means, but I might have a little bit more Olivier. No. Oliver skin. More Oliver. Anyway, I'm an idiot. But yeah. JJ texted me the other day. It just goes, Nick Foligno, congratulations on the contract extension. I just said, you work hard and you try to support the organization. I tell you all that. Just tell you that dumb joke. Sorry. Apologize. Lurie Island. That's pretty funny, Billy. Farzy can't bench the bar. Farzy just had pitchers and catchers. You're damn right I did. Farzy, it's all about the fightings, said. Jason A, what's on? Thanks, Torts. Tippett is awesome. I don't know when the season started. I watched him in an interview, sweating his ass off ever since. Ever since then, I've been rooting for the kid. Sirianni needs to be fired. There you go. Sun worshiper. Hello, sun worshiper. Hey, Farzy. When is the latest date we could know if we got a new coach? When's the latest date? Odd question. I mean, you want to have a head coach in free agency. And that starts. When the hell does that start? Day after the Super Bowl? I know. I gotta look at the league calendar, but I figure you gotta have. You have like 3 weeks, 4 weeks before you really start jumping in there. What the? Hi from Orlando, Florida. Heather Stella. What's up, Heather Stella? Welcome to the party. Flintlock operator. Flintlock. Flash in the pan. He needs a new boat because this one is sinking. Well played. Well played, sir. Good morning from Port Charlotte, Florida. Bob Brown. What's popping? Riddles. No. Okay. Must be nice to be a billionaire. What did I... Oh, man. I was listening to the Smartless podcast the other day, and Will Arnett, they're interviewing Adam Driver, and Adam Driver was talking about being in the new Ferrari movie and all that stuff. And Will Arnett was like, I had a Ferrari. He's like, but, if you don't drive it all the time, you really got to get it worked on a lot, and you got to take it in the shop a lot. And Jason Bateman chimes in with, oh, what a relatable story. I know when I'm driving my Ferraris, I really got to make sure I'm driving one on Monday, one on Tuesday, one on Monday, one on Tuesday. Got to keep them moving. 2, what's going on? Morning, Flyers keep winning. Andrew Dirk, yes, they do. Interesting to see what happens today. Mike, I concur. Flintlock. Honestly, Flintlock, I'm just going to say you're climbing the charts on my favorite name in the chat. And I know we just met, but honestly, anyone clamoring for a new head coach doesn't realize that Lurie will just hire another empty suit to replace Nick. Here's the thing. I agree with you, but I also like Nick Sirianni. I like Nick Sirianni. I root for Nick Sirianni. That's what made it so difficult to watch the last month plus of the season. But yeah, if they do fire him, it'll just be somebody else. I told you already, I want Jim Harbaugh. I want Jim Harbaugh to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. I want his offensive line, his ability to work with quarterbacks, his demeanor. I want that to be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. It'll never happen. Because is Howie Roseman really, is Jeffrey Lurie really going to walk up to him and be like, have you seen the numbers? And then Jim Harbaugh's like, wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much for telling me. Put that in the back pocket of my khakis. Appreciate you. In all seriousness, because of everything at Michigan and everything that's happened since he's been at Michigan, people forget what a good coach he was at the NFL level. Success with Alex Smith made Alex Smith into an actual NFL quarterback again, and success with Colin Kaepernick. You're talking about winning in the playoffs, getting to NFC championship games with 2 different quarterbacks, making the change at quarterback when Alex Smith had a plus 100 passer rating. They still made the change to Colin Kaepernick. Won on the road at Lambeau Field. That's a pretty good coach. And he knows how to coach to his quarterback's strengths as well. So, yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Coached in the Super Bowl, lost to his brother in the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. We know the story. Wow, Farzy can't bench the bar. Farzy, I'm still not over the Fightins losing Game 6 and 7 in the NLCS with Nola and Suarez at home. That still stings. Still stings. Sirianni. What's up, Sean Gillespie? Sirianni. Sean Kilrain's invention. Sirianni. Eagles are Sean Kilrain. Eagles are the first playoff team in NFL history to lose 4 games by 17 or more points over the last 7 games of the season. Oh, God, it's terrible. Sirianni's going to talk himself out of a job. Could you imagine a nervous Sirianni? That's a great point, Mike. Could you imagine, gosh, why is I'm not talking to you, phone? Anyway, could you imagine, so we all see Nick at the podium. We see him at the table there answering questions, and sometimes he gets a little nervous. Could you imagine him interviewing for we all remember his introductory press conference, right? And if he's interviewing to be a head coach, there's no real pressure. He wasn't the hot list on anybody's name. So he goes into that with, hey, this is just an experience. I'm sure he was a little nervous, but like not overwhelmingly. Could you imagine Nick Sirianni, nervous Nicky? Could you imagine him interviewing for the job he currently has? Jeffrey Lurie's all relaxed, just came back from yacht shopping. Okay. He sits down in South Philly. He's like, oh, still has that pineapple with the umbrella, and the straw. And he's just sipping the straw as Nick Sirianni's like, okay, here's my plan. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, first, I'm going to take this coordinator from over there. I'm going to bring him over here. And we're going to call play. Well, but it's sometimes. And just Jeffrey Lurie's like, anyway, that's the way I see it breaking down. Sean Kilrain, got you saying Sirianni. Yes, you do. Everybody in the chat. Unless you rein in, nothing will change. Here's the thing. I think Howie has been reined in. And I think Jeffrey Lurie is the one doing the reining. Like Jeffrey Lurie is becoming more of a on-field owner. And that's not supposed to happen. Joe Maddie, what's going on? I've been an Eagles fan for 54 years. Never saw a team play so bad and without heart. Oh, man. Joe Maddie, that's rough. 54 years. I think he went on vacation because he doesn't know what to do yet. It's possible, as far as he can't bench the bar. Need John Dornbos to do a magic trick and make everybody disappear. Thank you, Jeremy. Hey, what's up? Hey, Fire Sirianni. Huge fan of what A. Brown displayed integrity-wise this year. Not being at the playoff game was icing on the cake for me. Sometimes injured players don't travel. Especially if it's and I hate that I'm about to refer to it as this, especially if it's a lower body injury. They don't want them to be walking around, just sit at home and get healthy. Lurie hates veteran coaches. Yes, he does. This team hires yes men. Bob Brown, yes men. This hired team, yes men. Yes men are not empowered to make major change. Howie and Jeffrey reap what they sow. Rookie coordinators, rookie coaches hit rookie wall. You lose 5 or 6 down the stretch. Yep. As far as he can't bench the bar. Just for the record, he would comment, or she, I don't know, would comment a lot on the Phillies postgame show I did for Jacob Media this past year. And just for the record, I can bench the bar. Okay? I can bench the bar. Up until recently, I was repping. What did I get up to? 185? I think I got up to 185. For the record, bro. Son of Nick is a bumbling fool. Farzy is rooting for Sirianni to come back 100%. Not now. Not now. I've made up my mind. I'm out. I'm out, baby. But I found him to be an easy guy to root for. In the early goings of it, when the flower power speech and all that, I was like, bro, no way. And then the team responded great, played hard for him, made the playoffs. Then he made it to the Super Bowl. Kind of hard to root against that guy, too. And I just think he's a good dude. Farzy, Bradbury, dead cap is wild. It is wild. Anybody else I miss? Wait. Come on. There we go. Elaine! Ostrander? What's going on? Good morning. Let's see here. Ed White! What's going on, Ed White? You just have to pray Bradbury is better under new defensive coordinator. I don't know, man. Those are just easy missed tackles right there. Sirianni's going to get booed opening day. Sam Malone. Great name, Sam Malone. Nick is coming back because meeting Friday so they could slide into Friday night. What the hell? What is going on here? 9-8 next season. Nobody's excited. Farzi trying to convince himself for keeping for Nick Sirianni. I'm not. I'm trying to look. My prediction is he's back, and I ain't excited about it. Frank Smith, terrible drafts, bad trades, bad signings. Yep, pretty terrible. It's all pretty terrible. I don't know if I can put that up there, but thanks. Shooter McGavin, you do look like Foligno. Laugh out loud, you glue guy. Yeah, right. I'll have to hold on. I'm gonna try to. I'll put this up. I'll have to send this to JJ. Where'd you? Oh, shooter. There you are. I'm just gonna put this up. I'm gonna. This is purely selfish. All right. That's for JJ. What time did I do that? All right, I'll go back and get that. Nerd impressions, number 2 reason to watch this show. Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate you. Oh, you know what I didn't even mention? And I'm embarrassed. Stop it. Stop it, Sean. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. You know I'm a sucker for that. Frank Smith. Will they have Big Dom and escort Nick out after the meeting? Everyone, I didn't even mention this on the show, and I'm sorry that I didn't. The idiot that threw popcorn on Nick Sirianni. Like, that is such a low-life move. I hated when the Sixers fan dumped popcorn on Russell Westbrook as he left that playoff series against the Sixers. I don't dude, you say whatever you want. In all honesty, say whatever you want. Boo. But like anything physical, like throwing popcorn on somebody, the fan at Madison Square Garden that spit on Trae Young or spit at Trae Young, like anything like that. Don't say anything. Hold on. The one thing I'll draw the line at racial slurs. Racial slurs a little too much. It was Utah where they were yelling racial slurs. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it Ja Morant? That's over the line. But especially anything physical. Throwing popcorn, anything. Oh, it's only popcorn. And really, it's wildly disrespectful to treat somebody else like a trash can. And somebody did that to Nick Sirianni, and that is just awful. Absolutely awful. You know, it's pretty awful. All right, that's enough. Muted growl. Nervous Sirianni. Frank Reich is a great guy and even better human. He is amazing. I love Lamp. John Marinelli, what's poppin', man? Nice to see you. Wildebeest, what's going on? Eric Wisniewski, what's going on? There we go. Nick is. Oh, come on. That's not nice. Wildebeest Davenport. The fact that you have a kid in the helmet of your avatar saying that is, I don't know, even funnier to me, I guess. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Oh, wait, King Pooty. King Pooty TV. Oh, I lost you. But anyway, thanks. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Okay. Oh, from the UK. RK from the UK. What's going on? Nice to be here. Nice to have you here. Appreciate everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful as per usual. Coming up, 8 o'clock today. Birds 365. We'll get underway with Jody Mack and Johnny Mack. So make sure you guys check out that show. We're going to be waiting with bated breath to see what happens with Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie today. I hope there's a press conference today. I really do, because that would help kind of shed a light on everything. It's going to be snowing. So maybe Jeffrey Lurie needs one more day back in the area to acclimate himself to the winter weather conditions of the Delaware Valley, because, you know, we ain't St. Martin and everything. We got no coconuts in this area. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. One more time before I go. For the people on the podcast, I'm showing the thumbnail again just because I enjoy it so much. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Let's go Flyers. Sixers are back at it tonight. Look forward to that. Thanks, everyone. Be back with you guys on Monday, but also I hope to be back with you guys later to the press conference. I hope to be talking about a press conference about Nick Sirianni being fired. What I expect to be talking about is a press conference with Nick Sirianni and Jeffrey Lurie, or Jeffrey Lurie, then Nick Sirianni, or Nick Sirianni, then Jeffrey Lurie. And then they talk about going out and getting different coordinators. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm. Good luck shoveling that snow if that's what you got to do. Don't forget to salt the sidewalk. Have a great day.